Hey guys, we're gonna learn how to do a ad in Photopea again. So this is just kind of a bit of a rundown of what we looked at last class. So follow along, and we should be all right. We're gonna do a slightly different ad this time. We're not gonna do a sports thing, but we're gonna do a musician. So again, this is just to show you some of the tools. You can do your own thing. But yes, this is what I'm going to do for this demo. So first we want to do is hit new project. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a print. So if you hit the print button, and we want 11 by 17, which is the ledger. So it's the one right at the bottom, 11 by 17. Click on that one. And 300 is a little bit big, so we're going to change this down to about 150. It just makes the resolution just a little bit smaller, makes your file size a little smaller, and you don't really need it that high definition, especially for what we're doing. When we do other things, we will be using 300. 300 is kind of the max for printing. Your printer only has so much resolution, and this is good. 150 is good. So there we go. I'm going to hit create, and you should have a nice poster that pops up like this. All right, so now what we're going to do, we need to start getting some images in here. And I've already got one in mind here. So this is the image I'm going to use. I'm just going to copy this image. I'm going to plunk it into using Control V. So there we go. So you guys know what to do next. We want to cut this guy out. So there's a few different ways. You can use your quick selection tool. Just thinking a little bit. And you can kind of carefully select him. And if it goes all over the place like this, right, sometimes it just automatically grabs it, which is kind of frustrating. Other software is a little less finicky. Remember, Control Z will undo and Control D will deselect. If your quick selection tool isn't working, I would recommend using your magnetic lasso tool. This one is nice because he's already obviously been photoshopped, right? He's on this nice pink background. So that'll make life really easy when I go and cut him out. Right, because it just sees him basically. But it's okay. So I'm just going to quickly go around. Shouldn't take you too long. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect because we can always edit it down a little later. So you can go pretty quick. I'm clicking whenever there's a kind of a point, right? If there's a kind of a corner that I'm going to do, curve in the image, just whip around, just like that. So once you've got them selected, whether you've used the quick selection tool or your lasso tool, go ahead and hit refine edge. It's at the top. All right, at the top here, and once it does that, I'll do a little bit of calculating. And remember, with our brushes, you can use white to reveal things and black to conceal things. Yeah, so my brush is a little bit big. You can click on this button here to kind of make a smaller brush. We can get in right inside here. I'm using black color to get rid of these areas here. So you can go along and edit out any areas that need to be erased or add any areas in that you missed. And I'll let you do that at your own speed. I've already cut out an image, so I'm just going to hit OK, even though it's not quite done. I know there's lots of little things I could play with up there. I'm just going to push OK. And I'm just going to load in, whoops, I forgot one thing. When we select him, I'm just going to do a quick little selection here. Let's say this was my image. I forgot one thing that you need to know. Shoot, his head. So one important thing that you need to know, let's say I selected all of them and I hit refine edge. And now I just got his head there. What you need to know is you need to, instead of doing new layer at the top here, make sure it says selection, okay? You can also do raster mask, but just to be safe, I like to do selection because we're gonna make a raster mask right away, but I want to make sure that everything is good before I commit to that. So I'm just gonna do selection, and then I push OK. And now I can do a raster mask, right? So I can push this button down here, our little circle within a rectangle, looks like a little camera in the bottom right. Click that, and we've got a raster mask. So I've already made a good cutout, so I'm just going to import that into our document here. Drag him in. All right, so there he is. Just going to get rid of the other one. Let's say, yeah, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to make him a little bigger there so that he's kind of filling up a little bit more of the space. So remember, always push shift when you scale, otherwise he ends up doing weird stuff like this, right? If you push shift, whatever object you're using will stay the same dimensions, right? It'll get bigger, but it'll also won't warp. Right, so something like that looks pretty good. I'm just going to push enter to confirm that. Okay. Next, what we're going to do, we are going to get a background. So what we want to do is we're going to go up here, and there's two different kinds. We can do a color fill, or we can do a gradient fill. So a color fill will just be a solid color, right? Boom, it's all red. Do that. Actually, maybe I'll push the background layer so I can still see what I'm looking at here. The other version is you can do a gradient fill. So gradient fill will make first it'll start with a black and white image. Right? You have a little bit of a black and white thing going on, but we can change these colors. So I'll zoom out so we can see the whole thing. If I go and click on this gradient bar, it's kind of black and white gradient bar. I'm just going to click on it, move this around. And if we click on the bottom colors, so click on that. If I double click on it, you have a color picker that shows up. So from here we can start, if we want whatever color under the sun here, right? We can do whatever we want. You can also pick colors directly from the image. So let's say I really liked the color of his guitar. Well, I can make this bottom part this exact color, right? Just pretty cool. Or the green of his pants, right? I can do that. So I'm kind of digging kind of like his guitar here actually. So I'm going to kind of pick a nice color in here someplace. Maybe it's dark. So it's good, pretty good in there. I'm going to push OK. Oops. Make sure you push OK here. And then you pick the other one. And maybe I'll do kind of this light blue of his jacket. Oops. And then hit OK. And then push OK, and then now you have a nice, pretty cool gradient going on there. Cool. Okay, that's looking like something. I'm thinking he might be blending into his background a little bit, and we can always go back for like, oh, I don't really like it. We can always go back in and change it, right? So maybe I'll go for instead, I'll do the green of his pants, just so he pops out a little bit more. So this light green up here. Maybe down here I'll do dark green. All right, that's looking a little better. Something like that, sure. For the demo, that'll work. All right, so next, I want to put in some words. So I want to, this guitar player's name is Corey Wong. You don't have to do a name, you can do a brand. So maybe it's like, this is a Stratocaster guitar. Maybe you'll put in something like that, right? Actually, let's do a Fender Stratocaster or Fender Strat. I like that idea. I'm gonna click on the T here. The shortcut is T on your keyboard. And then I'm just gonna click on, make my size nice and big already. I'm gonna crank it up to 150, see what that looks like. And I'm going to just click there and I'll say, what did I say? Fender Strat. Fender, I'm gonna make it all caps, Fender. And I'm actually gonna use 2 text boxes. So I'm gonna click off. So I just did the move tool. And I'm gonna go back to the text here. And I'm gonna call it Strat for short. This card is. So now I have these 2 boxes, and right now it's behind him. Right, both of them are behind him. I'm actually going to put them both on top of Mr. Corey Wong here. So you can select on the layers panel on the side here. If you push Shift while you click, you can click as many as you want, right? So I'm just going to click the Strat and the Fender. I'm going to move it up to the top. All right, good. Next, I'm going to change the font for both of these. I'm not crazy about this font. The one that we used in our class the other day, I believe, was called Share Bold. H-R-E. Yeah, there it is. Where to go? Share Bold OSF. So I'm going to use that. Do the same thing. Just keeps it there for me. Perfect. Cool. All right. And if you want to change the color is found right here. There's kind of this black box here beside your size. I'm going to pick, maybe this time I'll pick something from his jacket or something. Maybe this kind of cool yellow. It's kind of neat. Give that a try. This one, maybe I'll do this baby blue jacket color here. Nice. Okay. So now what we can do is let's make these bigger. I kind of think that they should be bigger. So I'm just grabbing it and pushing Shift. And that'll make it both the same size. It'll make it larger at the same time. So Fender can go here. Put Strat. Kind of put Strat in behind him here. I want it like, let's see, like that. Yeah, I'm thinking that'll work. Maybe this Strat still isn't. It's not really popping very much, right? So this is something to look for. Maybe we'll just go. We'll do a nice green. Maybe we'll do this background. Oh, too light. Maybe we'll just do the yellow again. Let's just do yellow. Cool. That looks good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to put a layer mask on both Fender and Strat here so that it pops, end of the day, so that it looks like it's in front of him on the shoulder and behind his guitar. So I'm going to click on Fender, make sure my Fender is selected, and I'm going to click on the layer mask right here. So now I can paint just like we did before. I can use my brush tool. Remember B, if you want your brush tool, you can push B to do that. I'm going to make sure that one color is black and the other color is white down here. And with my black, I'm just going to start painting in. Just gonna get that one right out of the way. And because I'm not quite close enough, and another thing, guys, is if you push Shift, I'm pressing and holding Shift and click, they go in straight lines, which is kind of cool. So watch this. So click, and I'll click over here, straight line. I'm pushing Shift while I do that. I'll get rid of this E as well. So I'm just going to click here, click, and I'm pressing and holding Shift, straight line, boom. Really easy to get straight lines, especially with something like a guitar. Fender Strat. Okay, so now I want to put a mask on the Stratocaster here. So I'm going to put, clicked on the layer mask here, and again, I'm adding a layer mask just like that. And I'm going to try to get it underneath his guitar. So you might have to go a little bit further. This is what I usually do. I kind of go too far, and then I bring it back in. You can get nice and precise that way. So go too far, get a nice kind of halo around it, and we bring it back in. Kind of cool. He's actually got a strap here. Maybe I should notice this before. We should strap behind as well. Nice. And let's see what it looks like with the T behind. I want to see his hands, right? He's a guitar player, so hands are important. All right, something like that. It's not great because I can't actually see that A very well, but for now, for this the sake of this demo, I'll be okay with that. Okay. Ooh, if I was thinking a little better, what I would have done is I would have made this guitar come right out of that D. Oh well. Next time. Okay. So next, what we want to do is I want to add some cool effects in the background. So on our other one, we did a box around the words. I'm going to do some kind of weird kind of circle things, kind of like some sonic lines or something. So when we used our box, we used this rectangle tool. This time I'm going to use the ellipse tool. So I'm clicking on the ellipse. And what this does, it's a circle, right? So when you click on it, it's going to be a somewhat circular. If you want a perfect circle, again, just push Shift. Shift is great for making straight lines, for scaling things that are going to stay the same, right? All right, and then I'm going to move it kind of to where I want it to be. I'm going to make a bunch of kind of like sonic booms coming out from on top here. So I'm putting it kind of like, oops, I'll put it right, kind of like right above the E. And if you want it in the middle, sometimes these lines kind of show up. You see that, right, like that? That means it's being centered with something else, right? So that means right there is the center of the entire picture, which is great, or at least of the vertical part of the picture. There, see that little line? Okay, so this red is ugly. I don't like it. We need to change it. So I'm going to go up here and under your shape stuff here, you can, there's a fill and there's a stroke. So if you hit fill, we want this to be none. Right, so it's basically invisible. And the stroke, so the fill is if you were to fill the circle, right? The stroke is the outside of the circle. So let's say I want a color, right? I don't want red. Maybe I want a nice gray. And we're going to do another effect on this layer here. All right, so I'm gonna have a nice gray, and I'm gonna crank up this size of this to maybe, let's do 25. Round number there. All right, so here's a trick for you. I'm going to duplicate this layer a bunch of times. So I'm just right-clicking on the layer on the right-hand side, right-click, and there is a duplicate layer at the top here. So if I click on that, it's going to copy it right on top. So now there's two of them, right? Just Control Z that. And now I'm going to have a whole bunch, right? I'm going to have a whole bunch of circles. I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to push Shift, right-click, duplicate, and now I made 4. See how there's 4 here? I'm going to select them all again. It's just a quicker way to duplicate stuff. Now I have 8. Let's do one more. I probably won't need that many, but that's okay. Duplicate it one more time. There we go. Now I have a whole bunch of circles. Great. So now I can just, if I just click on the top one, I can start making these sonic booms. You notice, okay, so I'm pushing Shift, right? Remember to scale when you push Shift. But if you push Alt as well and do that, it'll expand from the center. That's really handy. It works for rectangles, works for anything. So I'm pushing Shift and I'm pushing Alt. And that's how I'm going to get this kind of perfect circle where it's just bang on dead center. I'm going to push Enter to confirm that. Then I'm going to click the middle circle again. I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm just going to make a kind of this cool sonic boom sort of a thing. Make it a little, like the space in between a little bit bigger every time. So in the end, I have something that looks kind of trippy and kind of cool. Maybe I will use a mole. Probably not. So just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And again, I'm pushing Enter every time I scale it up to make sure it's confirmed. Oop, too far. Oop, starting to get a little choppy. And if you wanted to get really fancy, you could also make the actual circles a little bigger as you go up too. One more for the bottom here. And Alt and Shift. Shift makes it a perfect circle. Alt makes it expand from the middle. Cool. That looks great. So now I kind of have this cool bullseye effect going on. It's all in gray for now, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. So I have all these shapes, and you'll notice that it just gums up all of my stuff, right? I don't want to have to scroll through all this. So if I select all of them, I'm going to push shape 1 and go all the way up to shape 15, and it selects all of them here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this little folder button here, and that put it all in a group. So it's all collapsed into one group. And I can just call it circles. I know what it is. Cool. Okay, we're almost done here, guys. Last thing I want to do is I want to put a layer effect on these circles. So this is called a blend mode. And I can move these around still, right? They're not locked. I can just I can use the arrow keys or whatever if I want to kind of get it more centralized or anything like that. That looks pretty good. All right, so having my my circles folder selected, I'm going to go up to here where it says pass through. This is your blend modes in here. Normally it says normal. If I click on something else, it'll say normal. Because it's a folder, it'll just say pass through. I'm going to click on it, and there's a bunch of different modes that we can do. The two that I want you to experiment with, the first one is screen, which is in the second one here. And what that's going to do is going to make everything a little bit lighter and make everything a little bit transparent. Right, so it kind of still looks kind of green, right? But it's still quite bright. The second one that might want to experiment is multiply. It does the same thing, just the opposite, right? So it makes everything a little bit darker. And then you can play with like your opacity and stuff. And if it's too bright, then maybe tone that down a little bit. And let's see which one looks better. Screen. Kind of like the multiply, actually. Kind of like that dark. It's kind of cool. So there you have it. I made a pretty easy logo there. Oh, let's do one more thing. Let's put in the Fender logo. So I have it opened here. I'm just going to copy it. Right-clicked, copy image, and I'm going to paste it. Control V, paste that image in. Perfect. Okay. So maybe I'll center it again. That nice red line helps me out. And I'm going to add a mask on this again. So I'm actually going to use my my magic wand tool because it's a nice black and white. I'm going to get rid of all this black. So I'm just going to click on the black. Actually, no, I lied. I'm going to click on the F, and then I'm going to push Shift. And that'll, see up here, see when I push Shift, it switches over to Unite there. I'm going to push Shift, and I'm going to click on the rest of the word. Then I'm going to add another layer mask. Right now we have a nice cutout Fender. And maybe for this one, ooh, this is what we do. What we can do is I'm gonna use my paint bucket tool, and that's hiding underneath your gradient tool. It's right here. I'm gonna make it gray, maybe a lighter, slightly lighter gray. I'm just gonna paint in those words, right? And yeah, there we go. Oops, what happened? One sec here, guys. Paint this in, gray, gray. And because it's already set to screen, normally it would look something like this. But if we go down to screen, right, it's going to stay a little bit see-through. That's pretty cool. And you can again play with your opacity if it's too bright or anything like that. Maybe you want a little bit more subtle. You can play around with that. So there you go, guys. There's a pretty good little advertisement using blend modes and layer masks and a little bit of some fonts as well. So yeah, keep at it, and let me see how you guys do. If you have any questions, please let me know. Be happy to help you out. Yeah, and we'll see you in class next time. And once again, I really don't care if you like or subscribe. So have a good day, guys.